But I'm going to try this again. I apologize if my actions made you feel
No,
differently.
you can't do. Okay. Whoa. Okay. Apology 101.
Okay, that wasn't
You
right.
don't do if in an apology.
Got it.
Right? You don't do if. There's no. I'm sorry if X.
Well, I don't know if it happened.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm
that-
sorry. Let's try it again.
I'm sorry that
I'm sorry that
I exposed some of my blind spots,
I exposed some of my blind
and
spots.
I'm gonna work harder to. I'm gonna work on those, and I want to hear more about them. Right? Like,
All right.
yeah.
I apologize
Yes.
that I exposed some of my blind spots.
Yes.
If I actually
no,
do.
no.
Because we don't know if we
Pause
did it yet. We don't know if we did it yet. We don't. So welcome to Divorce with Friends, the podcast that reminds you if you're mature enough to talk about condoms and prophylactics, you should be mature enough to talk about prenups, Tom, because they basically are about trust and protection. Wouldn't you agree?
That you went a long way for that, but sure. Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm fine with starting with the straw man. We're here on episode 2. I am Bobby Vito, and joined with me we have Tom.
Hi.
Tom, how's it going?
It's going very well for me. How's it going for you?
Can't complain, actually. I feel like I could, but I won't.
Yeah, you could.
So we have some stats from the last time we did this.
Okay.
We got, all right, so we posted on the 14th, 15th.
Yep.
We have about, as of recording time,
Yep.
we have about 187 views on YouTube.
Wow.
Right? So my mom hit refresh a bunch of times.
Yeah, that's not unique viewers, right?
No,
That's views.
no, we have those. But the other thing that we have, Tom, is we have 60 subscribers because we are now live on Spotify as well as Apple and Amazon just to get those extra people.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's encouraging because you think you're just gonna get friends and family, but we don't have that many friends, so right?
No.
I don't have that many friends.
I mean, so here's the thing. So I don't have social media, as we talked about last episode, outside of Twitter. I won't call it X, but I don't have social media. So this was the first foray I had into social media ever. So I think at time of launch, maybe we had like 20 followers, 25. We got a few pity ones, I'm sure.
Sure.
But I do know that we did get some listener emails, which was surprising. I didn't think we'd have a feedback loop already, but can I read you some? Because some of them are pretty funny. They're not all good.
Yeah, obviously not.
We're
new.
We're
We're
new.
to improve.
I don't know who a lot of these people are. I can guess on like one of them, but let me read this one, right? So this is from Steven on Gmail, okay? So Tom and Bobby, my friend who shall remain nameless is going through divorce. Having gone through my own years ago, she sent me your podcast with the subject line, "These guys are sort of funny." I guess that's okay, right?
That's pretty good.
Okay.
I'll take it.
I think you might like it. After listening, I want to thank you both, which sounds good, for reminding me that while I love my friend, she has awful taste in everything. Wow.
That was mean. Why did he take the time to write that?
Well,
I don't understand why people take the time to do this. You know, just go listen to something else. That's okay.
It's right at that scene in The Office where like Stanley would do that thing after the summer where he like starts like a serious thing and he's like, "And shove it up your butt." Like I had no idea this was coming,
Yeah.
but he's like,
it was a swear. You think he was? Yeah, he's trying to trick us.
he's trying to help me with something.
Yeah.
But sometimes I forget, but not too long. So that was from Steven on Gmail. So Steven,
I hope your friend stops being friends with you, Steven, because you sound like a bad person.
I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So Steven, good job.
I didn't.
This is from Casey, which is on Hotmail. I think Casey might be the last one on Hotmail or one of the last
No,
ones.
there's a lot of people. I think. Yeah.
MS bought them? Who bought them?
Yeah, that was Microsoft. Well, there was a funny. I think like people still pay for AOL. I think that's
They
a
do?
non-trivial segment of AOL's revenue is people paying like X amount for an AOL email, basically. Even though AOL doesn't do anything else because they just don't know they can switch. It's like old people who don't want to. Obviously, everybody who has an AOL email just doesn't want to create a new AOL.
All the
Start a
parents out
subscription
there, you can still get it. Well, it reminds me of my grandfather still using like Internet Explorer too.
Yeah.
Even though it like bugs out on him all the time. Okay, so this is from Casey on Hotmail. Hey guys, stumbled on your podcast via YouTube, so one of the 187 views.
Pretty good.
I really enjoyed it. Divorce is tough, and with kids, it's even harder. Wishing you the best.
Wow.
That was really
No swerve. No insult at the end.
Nope.
That's good.
Nope. This is from Kevin on Gmail. This is another mean one. What's up, losers? Yeah. so sounds good. There's no way that either of you were married or ever were. Your secret is safe with no one. He signs it "So Long Gay Boys."
Wow.
Which,
Well, that's problematic in and of itself.
well, I googled that. Apparently, that's from The Hangover.
Oh, okay.
That's from The Hangover.
So he's quoting something.
He's quoting
It's not-
something.
yeah.
So he didn't put quotes around
It's
it,
not, yeah.
which is really on him.
It's not a slur.
And then we have one more, our final one. This is from Mark in Watertown. Gentlemen, I'm not going to lie, that theme was fire. It was
Yes.
fire. Okay. Don't know Dean, but if his ass is as good as his music, I don't want him anywhere around my wife or my mother for that matter.
Wow. Well, that's true. The theme is great. So Mark
lot of-
gets email of the day.
A lot of feedback on the theme, so that was really good. So we're doing okay. I thought we would. I didn't think we'd have 60 subscribers by now, but
Yeah,
we
that's
do.
very good.
We have people in California. We use Podbean now to distribute, so
Nice.
we have stats.
Yeah.
Tom, we can look at stats.
We're a big deal, yeah.
We're kind of a big deal.
You can see the very professional studio setup online too,
Yeah,
right? If
that's
you're
true.
an Instagram follower. Right?
On Instagram, we can go do that. So we're doing well. And before we get started, so it was summer break or spring break, I should say, with the kids. And Tom took the kids to Disney. How was Orlando Airport as magically shitty as I remember and just pure chaos?
Yeah, Orlando Airport kind of stinks. There's like a lot of times you have to take like a bus to get over to the thing and whatnot. But Logan Airport stinks. Logan Airport's one of the worst
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's
airports in the history of airports. But yeah, Disney was good. I think we'll do a Disney specific episode at some point. We have a celebrity guest, another Disney. I'm a Disney expert. I know a lot about Disney.
Oh,
And we have another one we're trying to book. He's very tough to book. He's a tough guy to get a hold of.
Oh yeah, the No More Mouse.
Yeah, for fantasy baseball trades or podcasts. But yeah, we'll try to get him on.
Yeah, he was like, I can't be on this week because I'm gonna be in Disney. Which
See,
is funny.
oh, perfect. Wow. See, that's who you want as your Disney expert.
Oh yeah, and then I was like, well, what about next time? And he's like, I'm going to Myrtle. I don't know if I can get out. I'm
Yeah,
like, "It's
and then
gonna-
probably Disney. He's
Probably-
probably staying at he's probably staying at the Hilton Head Resort in Virginia, which is obviously that's a Disney property.
Is that what he's doing? Well, because knowing him, I was
I
like,
don't
all
know.
right, he's at Disney now, and then he's going to tell his wife that he's going to Myrtle, but he's,
He's
actually
actually gonna
going
go
back.
to Disney.
He's definitely going back to Disney. That is
Yeah.
our friend Nomar Mouse.
Yeah.
He's wonderful. I had my kids a couple days
Okay.
over the vacation. I think you read my email. I made some poor choices. You weren't here to kind of talk me off the
Yeah,
ledge.
yeah.
I may have written an email that was I shouldn't have written.
Okay.
But I'm here. I'm still here. I'm still alive.
That's good.
And I talked to legal counsel, and everything's fine.
Okay.
But
We might edit this out.
but yeah, it's,
kids are good. Everybody's good.
everyone's good. Everyone's good. So vacation was good. But we're going to move into our second topic here, and what we want to do here is sort of talk about the idea of relationships and how they pertain with online therapy and diagnosing, right? So everybody's very familiar with the idea of you have the sniffles, right?
Yes.
Maybe your tummy hurts a little bit.
Sure.
So you go to WebMD and you
Yeah,
type it in,
WebMD.
and you've got cancer.
Yeah.
Like there's no way around it.
So I'm an anti-WebMD person.
I think it's a
right?
smart
I'm a don't go to the doctor, right, person, because I don't want to find out. You know what I'm saying, right? So not only am I not Googling, but I'm not having a professional look at it either. That's
I think
approach
Joe
to
Rogan would
health.
say that you're super smart because he only goes
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
only goes to the doctor if for general health stuff. But
Yep.
like if his brain hurts or,
Yeah.
or something, like
Yeah.
he's going to the streets.
Yeah, he's getting some of the ivermectin.
That's what he's getting. So
Yeah,
a
that's
lot
powerful.
of people do that, but a lot of people with relationships and social media, how it works is everybody's probably pretty familiar is it's just a giant echo chamber, and that goes for outside of relationships too, right? If you're a sports fan, that's the content that they feed you. If you think something's great, that's the content you get. If you think something's bad, that's the content you get, depending on what site.
Well, and yeah, I think the algorithms are more aggressive now than ever.
Mm-hmm.
I think the people who run the algorithms have explicitly admitted this. They go largely off of your engagement. So when you share something, when you dwell on something, when you open something to read more about it, then you get more of that thing. And it's sort of the Spotify thing of like, you may have a playlist in your head of what you think you like, but at the end of the year, you get your Wrapped and you're like, oh, I actually like Taylor Swift a little more than I thought.
Oh,
that
yeah.
sort of thing. And the algorithms are like that too, right? So it's like, yeah, I thought I was following these smart reporters and learning more about politics or baseball or my hobby, but actually I was just aggressively consuming, celebrity gossip or whatever it is, right?
100%. In fact, you're almost surprised at the end of the year too. Like I see, like now as I get older, you have the year to year, and all my music is from like the 90s, and you can see it in 2017, 2018, 2019. And then as I started having kids, like sneaking into the top 5 is like Coco Melon.
Right. Oh yeah, totally. My
Like,
kids have taken
crazy
over.
stuff.
Mine's a hot mess. But a good example of this one. Do you know Jason Whitlock?
Yeah.
Whitlock is a sports reporter, right? So he's a very pro-religion guy, right? So he did this tweet where he was like, "It is totally disgusting that ESPN has these ads for basically pornography on their homepage."
Remnant City.
And everybody on the internet had to tell him, "Jason, that's remarketing, my guy. You're getting that ad because of your internet usage history." Right?
Yeah. Somebody bought you for 5 cents CPM or something.
Yes. You're telling on yourself as a kid. That's a kid's, that's a kid's phrase. You're telling on yourself, Jason.
Yep, absolutely. So what's interesting though, Tom, is as I never had social media, I did sign up for Instagram for the podcast. Brand new email for the podcast.
Yep.
So we talked about how Instagram gets its feed, and we'll get more into that in a second. But let me just play you some clips that came in back to back today. And I want to be on the record. I do not think anybody in my life has this thing that you're going to hear about.
You're not accusing me of being this.
No, I'm not accusing you or anybody else. I don't think this is true, but I did think it was interesting that this is what they feed me constantly. And obviously, as I watch one, I'll get another and another and another. But this came in today.
Narcissistic relationship, you find yourself apologizing for things that you didn't do. You find yourself
6 signs someone is emotionally immature. Number 1, they get very defensive. Even gentle feedback feels like an attack. They'll argue, shut down, or turn it back on you because
No one tells you that the hardest part of going no contact is actually what happens after the silence.
5 signs it's time to walk away, even if you still love them. Here we go. Number 1, they never want to have the difficult conversations.
8 signs you're the problem in your relationship. 1, you confuse love with control. Tracking their location just in case, deciding which friends they can hang out with, cute. Or wait, no, creepy.
Prolonged pathological narcissistic abuse causes brain damage both structurally and psychologically. Today I'm going to break down what that means.
All right, Tom. So as you can hear, we're talking about narcissism in the relationship. And before we go any further, I do want to be very clear that Divorce with Friends podcast is not anti-mental health, not anti-mental health awareness. And if you or someone you love is in an abusive relationship, you should help them get out of that.
Yeah. And this is additional caveats, right? This is obviously this topic area is kind of a minefield. We're not experts.
Yeah. And I'm very white.
We have huge blind spots where like every podcast, where 2 white dudes do a podcast.
100%. Yeah. But with that said, I think out of the clips that we heard, you could argue that they may have blind spots too, because as we talked about before, this isn't, a TED Talk with like a renowned scientist, right? This isn't Robert Ballard on the screen or on the stage talking about how we found the Titanic or the Bismarck and people can maybe ask questions, right? This is a canned video where you're basically looking for this confirmation of this thing that you thought, either to prove that it happened or it didn't happen. And the more that you engage with this video, the more and more you're going to get. So what I found really interesting is that since I think the data from Google, this is directly from Google, the rise in terms like narcissist and gaslighting and manipulation, as well as trauma bond and codependency, they were pretty normal until February of 2016. I don't know. Do you remember
Has
what was
anything
going on?
happened to that?
I don't remember who may have come onto the stage, the
Specific
political
person
stage.
that they might have been, searching for in tandem with narcissism potentially? Or?
Yes, and these terms, especially narcissist and gaslighting, really, really peaked sometime in 2022, 2023, which obviously was when so-and-so may be coming back. I don't really know.
Yeah.
But
he who may not be named.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does that sort of point to? It to me anyway, it points to the idea that if you know these terms are going to be searched, it serves you as a content creator to make more videos like this. And if you are a person who feels like you're in this situation, you are going to go find one of these videos, maybe by accident, maybe on purpose, and then you're going to watch it. Then you're going to watch another one, you're going to watch another one. But what's interesting is that according to the National Library of Medicine, between 1 and 6% of the population actually has narcissistic personality disorder. So you can see from the search terms that actually happen, more people think that their loved one has NPD than actually is searched, right? Like there's probably a percentage, like 1 in 100 searches is actually the person. But when you hear these videos, like, 8 signs your partner may be a narcissist. Yeah. And you sort of think about, oh, maybe they did that. Maybe they did that, right? So you have that confirmation bias. And then anything that happens going forward, that recency bias then kicks in to say, oh, they're doing it again. They're doing it again. And I'm not saying that they don't, right? But what I am saying is, like, sometimes people have a bad day, right? Sometimes you don't answer questions or take criticism, or maybe the way the criticism was delivered could be considered narcissistic. I don't know. But the point that I'm making is diagnosing people from social media is probably not the best way to go about your relationship. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's tough because like with anything, there's some content on social media that's going to be accurate and some that's going to be
for sure
less than accurate. And the credentialing system for social media, and like you said, what you get shown is not whether a person has a high level of expertise and knowledge on a topic. It's whether they're getting views and engagement. So the things that get views and engagement are not necessarily aligned with accuracy, right? Yeah. So that is kind of tricky. One thing that you mentioned that I thought was interesting was the lack of a dialogue, right? So, when you're scrolling, as much as these are social media apps and they allow comments, very low percentage of the people who consume anything on social media comment, obviously, right? So it's not really like a purely two-way dialogue for everybody who's consuming it. And like you said, you're consuming this chunk of information, then you don't really have a chance to follow up. I wonder if, and I've seen some of this, if AI will get more of this type of usage, right? Where I saw there was a guy who does a lot of startups. I think it's like Levioso or something. He's kind of well known in the tech space. And he built an AI app that was supposed to be basically like a AI psychologist, right? It was like a ChatGPT wrapper, right? That tried to feed in like, hey, here are psychiatry, psychology, best practices. This guy is not a psychiatrist or psychologist, right? And, for like a methodology of therapy that had worked well for him. And you can talk to this AI, right? And give it your information. He had to shut it down, I think, because of some HIPAA issues. Right?
Okay. It called him a narcissist.
It took on a life of its own and diagnosed him as a narcissist. Started telling everybody that. No, but so I think that's an interesting use case for this too. People will definitely be as people, usage for those types of apps go up. People will definitely be turning to those to try to get diagnoses.
Oh, yeah.
And you may run into some of the same issues, right? Where AI is obviously referencing just a corpus of information that they get from, the internet at large, and may or may not, AI gets lots of things wrong.
Of course,
and
yeah.
Has lots of errors and maybe misdiagnosing people. So there's a lot of potential pitfalls there. And I would say too, there's a lot of potential pitfalls when you go to a therapist, right? So it's a really tricky thing, and it's tough to vet for sure.
Right? I mean, finding a therapist that gets you and that you have a good rapport with, that's very difficult. And then to make sure that they're understanding what you're saying and they're not, this person's a narcissist themselves or whatever. Like it is pretty tough. It's interesting though with the way that the social media works, in the sense that it's almost like going to a psychic, right? It's like a dry read. So I've been a psychic a bunch of times. There was this awesome woman in I forget what she was. Her name was Darlene or something.
Yeah.
She was phenomenal. And she would basically tell you things that like you could lean into and be like, oh, I can see where that would happen. So like one of the loops that I found happens, like just as an example with this narcissist thing. So, right. So somebody feels that their partner has these traits, whatever they are, XYZ. Okay. They find a memory where their partner did that, right or wrong. They look for more content to support it. They end up online. They scroll through and they have this new thought, right? The thing is that when you're looking for something, you'll find it, right? Like if you look through your partner's phone to say they're cheating or they're not cheating, whether they are or they aren't, every text looks suspicious to you, right? So like you almost start to like grasp it. And you could see a situation where, these videos, which is funny because they always say, you never speak in absolutes. You don't say always and never. But a video I saw could say, like, the narcissist will always get defensive when you bring up your vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
But then let's say the partner goes and says, I think there's something up with my partner. So they watch a video, maybe even by the same creator, and it says, a narcissist will always seek validation. And in their mind, they're like, well, they're always seeking validation.
Yeah.
So now it's a finger pointing exercise
Right.
instead of actually having the conversation with either a trained professional or in person. And now you're telling your friends and your family that this person is what it is. And you've now created this situation in your mind, both of you.
Yeah. Or like the flip side of that can sometimes be true too, where maybe they are
Sure.
and the other person's telling you, oh, you're thinking this because you're over consuming the wrong social media, right? So there's a lot of potential pitfalls there. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. I think what it comes down to is that, like, these therapists, that even if you do find a good therapist online, or you find the video from a real therapist and they say how you should address people's concerns, well, we're not therapists, right? Like if they came into your job to do what you do, they would probably make a ton of mistakes, even though you're telling them what to do, right? Yeah. It's like, it's the big difference between like buying gym equipment and knowing how to use gym equipment, very different, different things that you could do with it. So it's not as easy as these videos make it out to be. Like, when your partner comes to you with this, simply state this, and they will feel validated and heard. Yeah. Well, sometimes, the kid's screaming in the house, you got to call the bank because there's an issue with the mortgage payment, whatever. And maybe you don't pull that memory from your brain of like, let me handle this. So you probably handle it incorrectly, right? Because people are human.
Yeah.
Basically what I'm getting at is, you shouldn't be doing this online. You should be doing this with a person, with a partner, with a professional to help with that feedback loop, that back and forth.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody to spit ideas off.
Yeah. Try to find a methodology that works for you.
Yeah.
And yeah, for sure.
So there are some ways around it, according to Psychology Today, which is basically things like stop being angry and anxious rumination. So rumination is when you constantly think about the problem over and over again, have conversations about it in your mind. Try not to do that. But the biggest thing, and I'll just kind of like skip to it outside of going to extremes, right? So you hear this online, that's what they are, you've labeled them, and now you can't get that label undone. It's really just getting out of those siloed communities, which online it's super hard because, like I said, even on Twitter, if you like the Red Sox, for example, you'll get Red Sox content.
Right.
You can't really dismiss it. The difference is you can see the games and you can see the standings, so you know what's propaganda, what isn't propaganda, right? But if you're a novice to the topic, it's probably really confusing. So the biggest advice is try to just put down your phone, Tom.
Right. And this is the advice from Psychology Today. Yeah.
Put
that's
down
probably good
put down
advice
your
for
phone.
everybody, right?
Yeah. Well, you brought up something in the last episode I thought was a really good point. Is that when things are frictionless, they become way too easy, right?
Yeah.
And that makes you kind of overdo it in a way. Was that sort of what you're getting?
Yeah, well, basically, I think so much of this is related to dopamine. So all of these apps are trying to flood your dumb brain, right? That's evolved
Yes, my brain
from
is dumb.
from prehistoric times when you were like hunting and getting a rush of positive feeling from very specific things, and they're trying to hack your brain to flood it with dopamine. And
It's working, by the way.
right? 100%. And the things that produce dopamine are now very easily accessible and frequently very bad for you longer term.
Mm-hmm.
So they feel, right? Everybody knows this about different sensations. It feels good short term, bad idea long term, right? Like overeating, like a lot of things that are presenting you with a dopamine rush. Mm-hmm. And one of the interesting things about dopamine, when you experience a dopamine rush, so you're at a flat line for dopamine, you watch a bunch of reels. Every time you're watching one of these reels, whatever the kids are calling them, YouTube shorts, whatever, right? Every time you watch one of these short form videos, you're getting a rush of dopamine. You max out on dopamine, you get a ton of dopamine. When you crash, when you put the phone down, your dopamine doesn't go back down to 0 where it had been, right? It went up to 100. It goes to negative 100.
It's like when you take testosterone and then you can't reproduce it.
Right.
Not that I know.
Yeah. Well, we talked about that. Bezos. What's
Yeah.
Bezos knows.
I don't have Bezos money.
So you're actually now in a state of depression, and you're looking only for cheap dopamine too. Your brain is starting to get wired to think, I shouldn't be getting dopamine from a workout, right? Or a sense of accomplishment or anything that takes longer. I should be getting dopamine anytime I want it by pushing buttons and get it in like
Watching
10 seconds.
Coco Melon.
Exactly. Watching Coco Melon. Yeah.
Which there was a whole thing about how they use unmatching colors in that because it keeps the kids locked in longer.
I bet.
To where like when you shut Coco Melon off specifically, like they lose their shit. They always like lose their shit, but this time it's like the shit is gone.
Yeah, no, everybody, all these things are getting designed, and you can see it. You can see it with your kids. When you take away, I mean, people have said this a million times, but when you take away devices from your kids, it's like a heroin addict, right?
yeah.
They're just losing their minds.
Oh
right?
yeah. My son had his Switch and his iPad here for a couple days, and it was just back and forth until I took them both away.
Yeah, no, you have to. Yeah, we're super aggressive limiting that stuff, and the thing is, I think the dopamine is sneaky because you feel in these instances you feel like you're researching something, so you feel like you're doing substantive work to learn about something. But you are still being gamed by the algorithm and getting hits of dopamine. And the algorithm is not serving you information based on what's accurate. It's serving you information based on what's going to lead you to continue to consume, spend more time in the app, and feel like you had this experience of getting a lot of dopamine from the app. So again, you're getting these hits from things like confirmation bias, things like accomplishing the task that you set out to accomplish, which you may kind of think was to research, but may actually be, I just wanted information kind of confirming the thing that I thought, or I just wanted something interesting or whatever.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So put your phone down and spend time with others without technology, which is what I tried to do with my kids. So we're going to move topics. We're going to get into something a little bit more fun, less heavy. As we kind of go through like what would be sort of a good dialogue, we landed on this idea of, we lived together for years in separate bedrooms, just letting everybody know.
Wow, sometimes. Yeah.
Kevin out there who's suggesting something different. We lived in separate bedrooms, but we watched a ton of TV together. Yes. So we've put together a list of the most divorceable TV characters that we have experienced. Now, I will say there are men and women on here, right? We are a very equal opportunity podcast. It's not just women shouldn't just be divorced. Men should also be divorced.
So I'll say, we did get some feedback that we're a little bit biased, right, from the first podcast.
I'm not going to, somebody said
Sexist,
that.
some would say, yeah.
Somebody mentioned that, but.
Well, first of all, we love that feedback. We like that. We like negative feedback as long as it's constructive, right? Not like, who's the guy who just did the swerve and was really mean? I forget. Steven?
Oh, yeah, Steven. Yeah,
Kevin.
He button hooked us.
A lot of mean.
No, Kevin just went out.
A lot of mean emails.
Kevin just went with the gay boys.
Right. Yeah, that's hurtful and problematic. But this is constructive feedback, and we certainly have blind spots. So anybody who wants to like take notes and then come on, be the Divorce with Friends ombudsman and tell us all the things that we're wrong about, we're welcome to do a segment on that. I think that would be great. Having a perspective from somebody who just thinks we're wrong about everything. We'll clip. Bobby will clip it for you, and we'll have those clips ready, and we'll you can just roast us and tell us everything we're wrong about. But trying not to be sexist, right? We're going to have men and women on here, and we will probably be somewhat sexist in areas that we're not totally aware of, but we'll do our best.
And by the way, I want to be clear to everybody. I'm not talking about the actors or actresses doing these.
Correct. Yeah, it's
the character.
The characters in the shows. Right?
Now, some of their physical attributes may carry over to the character.
Right. In terms of how divorceable, like it's going to be much harder to divorce
exactly
Mad Men John Hamm than,
Totally. So I want to be clear. If this person hears it again, I'm not being sexist.
Right.
I don't think, but I'm going to try this again. I apologize if my actions made you feel different.
No, you can't do, okay. Whoa. Okay. Apology 101.
Okay, that wasn't
You
right.
don't do if in an apology.
Got it.
Right? You don't do if. There's no, I'm sorry if X.
Well, I don't know if it happened.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm
that.
sorry. Let's try it again.
I'm sorry that.
I'm sorry that.
I exposed some of my blind spots.
I exposed some of my blind spots.
And I'm going to work harder I'm going to work on those. And I want to hear more about them, right? Like,
All right. I apologize.
Yes.
That I exposed some of my blind spots.
Yes.
If I actually do.
No.
Because we don't know if we did it yet. We don't know if we did it yet. We don't know.
That's true. When we
don't know.
When we expose some of our blind spots?
No. See, now you're defeated. So we don't know. Okay, so let's go through some of these, Tom.
I look forward to the emails on that. Yeah, good. All right. So the first one I think is okay. So the first one we have, I mentioned Mad Men John Hamm, right? Who plays Don Draper, right? So Don and Betty Draper. So I have a take on this out of the gate.
I have immediate thoughts, but please.
So I have a hot take on this.
Yep.
I think that Betty Draper is a massively underrated spouse. Betty Draper.
Okay.
So I recently rewatched the early episodes of Mad Men, right? And Betty Draper, super underrated wife, especially beginning of the series, right? Remarkably good wife. Betty Draper,
At the beginning.
very supportive of his career, right?
Yep.
Actually, super active mom. They have some help around the house, right?
Okay.
Right? And Don Draper, total scumbag, right? Cheating left and right. Never comes home.
Big cheater.
Right?
Yeah.
Not active in the kids' lives. Early scene where she sends him out to get the birthday cake for the kid's birthday, and he sits in a parking lot all afternoon and
gets
doesn't come
hammered?
back.
Does he get
right?
hammered drinking
He was probably already hit. He's always hammered, right?
We had 2 kids. They had Sally and Bobby, right?
Yeah, it's Bobby's birthday.
Remember they wrote Bobby off? Like,
Yeah. Well,
Basi-
they don't like those kid actors are hit or miss, right? It's like if you get a kid actor who grows out of it or isn't a good actor or something, I would imagine, right?
they're like, you can't have Don neglecting 2 kids. You can only be neglecting 1.
Yeah. The girl's a better actress, so she got more.
So I was going to say they're both kind of shitty.
I don't think Betty should. So Betty starts to, like, I don't even think be shitty, but like be shitty towards Don because Don is such a piece of garbage.
But
And
what
Don
about
is so
the Glenn
terrible
thing?
to her.
What about creepy Glenn? She cuts. So this little kid, he's like the worst actor in the world. His name's
Yeah.
Glenn, right?
Yeah.
He sneaks in her house, sniffs her
Yeah.
panties or something weird.
Well, that's
she
fine.
finds
Okay.
out. She doesn't
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
She's like, don't do that again.
Yeah.
And he's like, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
And then she cuts a lock of her hair off in some other episode.
But that's like her like calling out for attention because she's stuck
She's
in
like
this.
8.
I know, but she's stuck in this environment where she's completely stranded in this house, taking care of these kids. And so early on, she tries to go back to modeling. Sure,
she was
and
modeling.
Don submarines his whole career to keep her from modeling, right? Like, so it's just a total talk about, I don't know, maybe a narcissist. I'm gonna have to watch some reels.
You're gonna
figure it out.
find out.
But probably
Find
a
out.
narcissist.
But don't be looking at Kendall after
I
this.
guarantee
This is your thing.
That's true. I'm gonna get all kinds of weird search history after that. But I guarantee there are a million reels of Don Draper narcissist. That's a search term that gets lots of.
We'll check out what the rise of it is after this podcast.
So I would divorce Don Draper and happily stay married to Betty. Betty Draper. I think would be fantastic if you weren't like a scumbag to her.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
that's my take.
She may have a thing for little kids, but that's fine. Who else is on the list, Tom?
So next we have Al and Peg Bundy. So one thing is these are going to skew into our demo, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
we don't know. I don't know anybody on Euphoria, right? We're not watching like shows with young people.
Fuck them kids.
But we also don't know. Well, actually, I do kind of know like All in the Family, but we're not going to go over All in the Family, right? We're going to go our demo.
No, I Love Lucy.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So Married with Children was a show, right?
Great
When we
show.
were kids. Yeah.
Great show.
Very funny show when we were kids. Probably super problematic if you rewatch it.
Yes.
Would be canceled
Yes.
very quickly, I would imagine.
Yes.
Now, and we had Al and Peg Bundy. So do you have a take? I have a couple thoughts.
Okay, so I'm going to call it out. Obviously, Katie Sagal, amazing, right? She was in Sons of Anarchy. She's great.
Yeah.
Peg Bundy was super hot, right? I think the thing is that she did love Al, and she was a good wife. Like, there was no cheating or anything weird like that. Like, she did like buff dudes. There was always like a buff dude on there, and she was
Yeah.
all about it. I think I actually don't think either one of them are divorceable, because as much as Al complained about Peg,
Yeah.
I think it was sort of their push and pull.
Okay.
I do think that they had like a good dynamic, because he almost reminded me of Hal on Malcolm in the Middle, Bryan
Okay.
Cranston.
Yeah.
Him and his wife would kind of bicker.
Yeah.
But when somebody crossed his wife, like he
was there.
He was
Yeah,
there.
he was loyal.
He's like, and Peg came from like a weird family. I think their name was the Wankers, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And like King Kong Bundy was her like uncle or something weird, but he wasn't actually King Kong Bundy the wrestler.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
Al is kind of putting up with this. She's not working. He's got a pretty great house considering he's a shoe salesman.
Yeah.
And Bud becomes a rapper, right? So they're raising they're raising. Remember, he was Grandmaster B at some point. Phenomenal angle.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't remember what happened with Kelly, but I actually wouldn't divorce either one of them. I think they're good together.
So yeah, I don't remember the show super specifically. So I'll probably just ride with you on that. I do think this is the first of a type where we're going to see a lot of these guys where he's kind of a dummy, and he's not super responsive. He's probably not a super emotionally supportive guy overall, right?
Yep.
So yeah, but I don't know. You're pro Bundys. You like the Bundys.
I'll keep them both. I'll keep them both.
So I think a big one, a classic one is Ross and Rachel, Friends, right?
All right, you go first on this one.
Well, so I think Ross is a super annoying character, right? He's very
Say it again.
divorceable, just so annoying, so annoying,
super.
just very unlikable.
Don't like him.
Like whiny, like always like woe is me. There was super woe is me. Like this is like we were on a break. Like
Talk about not apologizing.
I mean, come on, yeah, right. I'm sorry if we were on a break. Like, yeah. So very unlikable. Tough not to marry Jennifer Aniston. I guess. Yeah.
So I guess I didn't
Tough to
watch
divorce.
Friends after Seinfeld ended. I stopped watching.
Yeah,
Friends.
yeah.
Like, in fact, I think that was the season they got together.
Yeah.
So I feel like at the time I was like, oh, that's good, right? But I never went back until after.
Yeah.
I feel like they both kind of had their issues, right?
Yeah.
Like he was like neurotic. He was
Yeah.
sort of a pain in the ass. I don't really remember too much about her, except that they always would flash back to the scene where he was like, because she was friends with Monica.
Yeah.
And they're all going to the prom.
Yeah.
And her date stands her up, or she thinks.
Yeah.
So Ross's mom, who's awesome, she's like,
Yeah.
oh, put that tux on and
Yeah.
take Rachel. And he's like a nerd and
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And he goes downstairs and he's about to give her the corsage, and the guy had shown up and they're all leaving.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, it took all this time for her to realize that he was the guy. It's like she just wants to date bozos along the way. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. Well, also, like, I don't know. Does he get? That's one of those like. Does he? I think maybe he's getting too many points for like. Oh,
So many.
hey, I'll be willing to date my older sister's like attractive
Free
friend.
nose job
Oh,
in
that's
the
true,
show.
free nose job.
So-
Well, but still, he didn't have a lot going on. So I don't know. I don't know that he's getting a little too much credit for that too.
Yeah, I guess like I would divorce him. I will come back to her at a later episode. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't
I'll stay married to her. That's fine.
All right. What about go to the next one.
Ooh, this one's exciting. So we love Curb, again, right? Like, white guys of the podcast, love Curb Your Enthusiasm. So Susie and Jeff Garlin. Yeah.
Okay, so this one's loaded. He cheats on her constantly.
Yeah. Jeff is, yeah.
He slept with Super Dave's handicapped sister, which was an amazing episode.
Yeah.
I think it was like "fuck me, fat boy" or something like that. She
you
was
go.
saying, she was
Yep.
screaming. He's a dog, right? He's got
Yep.
the dog in him. But Susie is a bona fide pain in the ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they probably both should divorce, but
Okay. But counterpoint for Susie, like, Jeff is terrible,
Yeah.
right? He's constantly trying to get out of stuff. He golfs all the time. He's cheating on her all the time. Larry is a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
If Larry were your friend, Larry David is a funny character. If that and Larry David has said he's not even like that in real life because no one would be friends with him. You would hate Larry. If that were your significant other's friend, you would be mad at them all the time too, I think, right? Like that's another one where it's like, right? If you had a spouse and they were a disaster and they were cheating on you all the time, and then their friend was also a disaster and was super rude and constantly created these incredibly awkward, annoying situations for you for no reason, right? Constant drama. True. That's like, that's the thing that Larry, like, again, it's funny in the show because it's Larry David and they're like funny, awkward situations. But if it were like, dare I say, right, like the other gender, you would be like, oh, that person's so dramatic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm Team Susie, and we'll divorce Jeff. Yeah.
okay. So I guess because I feel like the cheating is like the trump card. You can't really come back
Yeah,
from it.
that
But
one's-
remember when she was doing the whole thing? It was like sparkled bags, and he's got to hawk him now to his friends because
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
making this thing. She is kind of a pain in the ass, and also Jeff does defend her when Larry is like over the top. Like,
I mean, barely, yeah. But also counterpoint, she's trying to like right. She's trying to like be entrepreneurial. She's trying to like like make these bags. Like she's asking him for some support. He's he's a jerk all the time. I don't know.
all right,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, he's the worst.
So you can, yeah.
No, it's
he's
fine.
worse.
We'll
You can
divorce
Susie
Jeff.
too.
We'll
That's
divorce
okay.
Jeff.
You don't have to marry Susie.
All right, so we have a new we'll go down. So that was both no prize, right? So
Yeah,
how
yeah.
about just characters whose spouses deserve better?
Okay, so we have a good one here, and I know you have a hot take on this.
I gotta
so
love this one.
Walking Dead.
Yeah.
I'm a big Walking Dead guy. You're a big Walking Dead guy. You actually turned me on to The Walking Dead. Laurie Grimes.
Okay, so, and for the record, this is television canon, not comic canon, because
Bro,
I'm sure
very
it's a little
important,
different.
super important. Yeah,
I'm gonna
the comic book nerds would like.
So-
Yeah,
somebody's gotta
be here with pitchforks. Yeah,
Kevin's gonna write even a worse email next week. Okay, so Laurie Grimes. So, as if people don't know, she was married to Rick Grimes, who at the first episode gets shot. He wakes up in the zombie apocalypse. He risks his life to go find her and his son Carl. When he does, she's cozied up with his best friend Shane.
kind of the Helen Hunt in Castaway.
Castaway.
Where it's like, oh, it's been 3 weeks.
Yeah, how long?
I started over.
We should have put her on there. Of course, it wasn't TV. Okay, so she's with Shane, right? All right, let's just say she thought he was dead. That's fine, right? So she's with his buddy. Rick was only in that coma / not awake for like a month.
Right.
She waited like 3 weeks because it took them a while to get out of Atlanta anyway. She was banging his best friend pretty quickly.
So Devil's Advocate,
Okay.
and Apocalypse Time.
Always a Laurie Grimes defender.
Apocalypse Time is 3 weeks is probably a long time.
Okay,
Those
so
are
he
long
comes-
days.
he comes back now.
You run away from zombies.
But now he
No.
comes back.
Okay.
Okay. And spoiler alert: she's now pregnant with Shane's kid. Okay. I don't think at that point she should tell him, right? Because that would be really weird. She could just trick him. It's yours. He would never know the difference.
Okay.
But then season 2, we get to the farm,
She could be like, I'm sorry if you're upset that I slept with your best friend.
and the if was I didn't know if you were going to wake up. If you were going to wake up from the coma.
no.
So you know what? That's where if is important.
that's-
I don't know what you're feeling.
It's the one instance where you could use if.
Basically what he's saying is I'm being preemptive. Okay. So in the second season, they get to the farm and there's a power struggle between Rick and Shane. Okay. And she's playing both sides against the middle. Even to the point where you can tell Rick, who's like the sheriff's deputy, and Shane's just like the guy who works at the police station. Rick's starting to make the decisions. Shane doesn't like it. One of my favorite episodes, 18 Miles Out. They drive 18 miles out, as the episode would say, and Shane's got this plan to like kill Rick and leave him there.
Right.
But Rick beats the bag out of him. They beat the bag out of each other, and Shane basically gives into the fact that like he's gonna leave, and Rick can be with his wife. Okay.
Yeah.
So end of the season happens, and Herschel says they can all live in the house for the winter, and everything's great. And Shane tells Laurie he's gonna leave, and she's like, "No, you shouldn't leave. Like everything's great now." Now he thinks that he can get her again. So he brings his friend out to the woods and tries to kill him. Rick, as people know, spoiler alert, 10 years later, Rick kills Shane.
Yeah.
He then tells Laurie that Shane brought him out to the woods to kill him, and she loses her shit on him. She created a fight between them. Shane tries to kill Rick as a result. Rick kills Shane, and then Laurie blames him for it.
Well, I think you yada-yada'd over the scene where Shane tries to rape Laurie, right?
Did Shane try to rape Laurie?
Yeah, Shane tried to rape Laurie. He tried to like force himself on Laurie in the house.
Oh, you know what though? True. Mea culpa.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry if I
Yeah, I'm
missed
sorry.
that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry if I missed that. But
Okay.
why is she going back to him at the season finale being like, we can all live in the house? And then that's when he's like, I got to go kill Rick. So basically what I'm saying is, Laurie, I'm not blaming Shane, outside of the rape. I think that she played them both against each other. And then, like I said, the weird part is as soon as he kills Shane, she's like, get away from me. How dare you? Like she takes it. She's got this, look, watch the scene. She kills the scene, by the way. She kills it. But she's definitely like, why'd you kill my boyfriend? And he's like, what?
Well, okay. So I think there's some apocalypse free cards to be handed out here.
Okay.
I think you're in a zombie apocalypse. You're trying to protect your kid.
Sure.
You are turning to a person you know in a time of need. You think that Rick is dead. I'm giving her more of a pass, I think.
What
I think
happens when he
Shane
gets
is more
back
of a
then?
bad actor.
But when he gets, bad actor being John Berthol's
The rape.
phenomenal.
John Berthal is like an elite actor. We're mentioning him every podcast. It looks like that's our second John Berthal reference. Not everybody caught the first.
John, come on the pod.
Yeah, I would love to have John Berthal on the pod. He's fantastic. But I think that Shane more responsible for some of that than you're giving him credit for, and I'm more once again, I'm more pro Lori. I'm gonna say married to Lori too. Yeah, I like Lori. Lori Grimes. I'm married to Lori Grimes through the apocalypse.
Woof.
Yeah, ride or die.
What a terrible decision. All right, Tom. What about another controversial one?
Ooh, this is another big one. Kind of along the same lines, I guess, in some ways. Skylar White, Breaking Bad, great show.
So I was go back and forth on her. I think I told you this earlier. You could tell the first episode, like they hang out with her family. I don't really remember what's up with his family, but they're at some party, maybe it was his birthday party, with all Hank's friends.
Right.
And Hank's kind of calling him a bozo in front of his kid and
Yeah.
whatever. And basically, I feel like he's like a simp.
Okay.
Then he gets cancer. He says he's going to die and not do it. He then decides he's going to make meth and whatever. You're going to have to remind me. I can't remember. She was not on board, obviously, to begin with. But
With
then
the meth. With the cooking and selling of meth. No, she was against.
But then she's on board.
Well, so I think that basically, I mean, so you have to, Walter White is a highly intelligent sociopath, right? So he's super manipulative, and he puts her in a position where she is/feels complicit, right? So without having ever signed off on actually doing a bunch of crime, she's now implicated in a bunch of crime and has nowhere else to go.
Okay.
And no outs, no options, I think. And there's a little bit of rape from Walter White too, or forcing himself onto Skylar in that show too.
Tom is the bloodhound for forcing himself on people. I don't remember that.
Well, I don't know. I really don't need that nickname.
The rape bloodhound.
Yeah. That's not a fantasy baseball team name I'll be changing to. But no, so I think, again, at the beginning of the show, I think she's actually pretty great. They have a handicapped son. He's got a really good relationship with both his parents. Yeah. And Walter White is just a lunatic and a sociopath and puts her in unnavigable positions. And then she sometimes does things that are bad to Walter White, but that seems more self-defense and pretty reasonable to me.
Why did she start sleeping with Beneke, though? I mean, super hot guy, but...
Again, right? Like I think extenuating circumstances, you're trapped. You have this guy who's psychologically abusing you and has put you in an impossible situation. I think that's pretty reasonable. Beneke, pretty handsome older guy.
He's very handsome.
Yeah, I would sleep with Beneke. Yeah.
He did some shady shit though. Remember they gave him the money to get out of debt, and he was like, "I got to buy you a new car." Because
That was a problem. Yeah, he should have, shouldn't have been buying the new car. But he got his in the end. Spoiler alert. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So, we'll give Skylar...
Beneke had divorce. I'll divorce Beneke.
Okay. All right. So it's not... All right. So basically what we're going to say is...
And Walter White, just for the record.
I'm getting...
the fuck out of Walter.
Well, I was like, Lord Grimes, get out of here. You defended her.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
front
And
of the Supreme
Skylar.
Court.
Yeah.
All right. So how about this one? Tony Soprano. And I'm going to say...
Oof.
I love The Sopranos.
Yeah.
I can't think of one thing his wife did to really deserve what
Same
happened.
thing. Yeah,
because we don't even know if she died.
And like the Melfi, the therapist, says that too.
Yeah.
To Tony, that Carmela was the only good decision he's made with women in his life, or something like that. So you're definitely not going to divorce her.
But you can't divorce him because he will kill you.
Yeah, that's true. I guess if you could divorce him, you would. Yeah. Well, she almost does.
She almost
right?
does.
Basically, they separate.
I figure she's going to end up like Christopher's girlfriend.
Yeah, and then he does that because it's funny. I think with a lot of these characters, this was a Chase thing, right? So David Chase, who created The Sopranos, I think famously said in an interview that he got really frustrated because this was when shows didn't just get dumped all at once on streaming platforms. You watch them week by week. Yeah. And he was really frustrated by the audience response that they were rooting for Tony. And he was like, what do I have to, this guy's a monster. What do I have to make him do? And I felt on a rewatch, I mean, you obviously always know that Tony's a monster, but on a rewatch, I think it's even more evident because he is, Gandolfini plays that character so incredibly well. He's so charismatic. But when you rewatch it and you're looking more for the plot points and you do it quickly and you see all the things he's doing, like one right after another, you're like, oh my God, this guy's an absolute disaster, right?
There was like I just watched one episode where Anthony's the son, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the early seasons and he's like heavy.
Yeah, yeah.
And basically he comes down to get like a snack, and,
Yeah.
and Carmella and Tony are fighting, and Tony gets mad that he's eating a snack because
Yeah.
he's like
Yeah.
you're getting too fat. Like, what are you
Yeah.
eating the snack
Yeah,
for?
yeah.
And Carmella's like, leave him alone. He's like, you don't want me to have any kids? Any more kids? This is my heir. Look at this kid. I was like, holy shit.
Well, that was and it was something like as a fat kid myself who snuck late night food.
Oh, yeah, I get
this really resonated with me. It was like he was like, we just finished dinner an hour ago.
Yeah.
What are you doing? He's like, this is my male heir. This is what I got. You know,
I couldn't believe that. I was
Yeah.
like, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ. So I'm gonna say, without, as long as you don't get murdered, you can axe Tony.
Yeah, I would say so.
All right, so we probably only should pick a few more. I'm going to give you one that I know you have a take on. Ramsey Bolton.
Ooh, well, Ramsey. Yeah, I mean that's highly divorceable. Ramsey's.
So I didn't watch
Yeah.
Game of Thrones. I watched
Okay.
the last season with you.
Yes.
I put him on because I don't watch it. A lot of dragons and wizards.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cousin fucking. So
Yeah,
I'm not.
yeah. I was more in for the Dragons and Wizards. But
Well,
yeah.
you and
Giuliani.
Yeah, you
yeah,
and
that's right.
Giuliani.
Oh, Giuliani. big
Giuliani
cousin-
and Tom are
cousin
watching.
fucker. Yeah,
You
we established that last week.
Giuliani's like, it's not bad. Like, what's a cousin really?
Yeah,
Tom's-
no, yeah, right.
You
Yeah.
know? So I didn't watch it, but Ramsey was a bad guy.
Yes, he was a very bad guy. Like that was as bad as you could get.
She didn't even work. She killed him, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so good. He's out. We talked about Larry David. We'll end on kind of one that's funny. Wasn't married in the show. I do think in some weird spinoff he married Kelly, but Zach Morris was kind of a douchebag,
Yeah.
right? So if he did get married, would you divorce him? There's a list of things on Screen Rant of all the worst things that he's done. Can I just read some of them?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So he faked dying to meet a pop star. That
Yep,
happened when
yep.
they were Good Morning Miss Bliss. He pimped out Lisa twice. He used a teen advice line for
Yep.
getting a date. He kissed his best friend's crush. So
Yeah.
that's the episode where he makes out with Lisa Turtle. He created an escort service with the girls unknowingly. It was
Yep.
like a dating thing. And then he orchestrated a car accident to make sure that Slater didn't get his license, so he couldn't take Kelly out.
So this is almost like the perfect. This is a good one to end on because this is a perfect encapsulation, I think, of some of these male characters.
Mm-hmm.
Where, when we were kids, Zach Morris was the guy you wanted to be. He was the
Loved him.
cool guy in the show,
Yeah.
right? Mark Paul Glossier, very handsome. He was always getting away with stuff.
Hijinks.
Everything always turned out fine, no matter what kind of horrible stuff he did.
Yeah.
It was always fine for Zach, right? Like he never suffered any consequences. And it's interesting because they do these supercuts now and they go viral, and kids who have never even seen Saved by the Bell know that Zach Morris was a scumbag from these things, right?
Great catch jingle on that. It was Zach Morris's train.
Right. Yeah, South Park vibes, right? And I think, but at the time, I didn't experience it like that at all, really. I just thought he was super cool. And I think actually he probably had, if you measured characters and their negative impact on cohorts of people who watch those shows, he's probably way up there because he was such a, when you think about like the fixed mindset, growth mindset, right? Where like he would just never try at anything. His thing was like, he would never try. He aced the SATs.
He
didn't get good
got
grades.
better SATs
He
than
just
Jesse.
rolled into the SATs and got great SATs. And like everything was like, he was too cool for anything, right?
Yeah.
He wouldn't try at anything. He would make fun of Slater, right? We'd make fun of Slater for being like a try hard, right? When again, right, if you actually rewatch it now, you're like, oh, Slater's kind of like more the hero of the show, right?
Yeah.
Like he was an athlete. I think he like got good grades. He seemed like he was trying at things.
Well, he did, and I know we said we were only going to do that last one, but I do want to bring up another one real quick. Jim Halpert.
Oh yeah.
So I was obviously a Pam and Jim guy.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm a serial work dater.
Yeah.
Jim is a serial work dater,
Yeah.
right? We're both shitty at apologies,
Yeah.
apparently. But if you think about it, at the end of the run,
Yeah.
what does he do?
Yeah.
He kind of quits his job, but not
Yeah.
really. He
Yeah.
basically says, "Can I work here 2 days a week and then in Philly?"
Yeah.
And then he just thinks that Pam is going to follow along with that.
Yeah.
And he's like, "But this is my dream."
Yeah.
On top of that, the guy buys his parents' house for them
Yeah.
without consulting her.
Right.
And he's like, "This is where we're going to live." And he
Yeah.
was humble, like, "Do you want to live here?" And she was like, "Yeah, I love you." But she's also the same girl who fucking dropped out of art school so she could be back with him.
Yeah.
I obviously love Jim,
Yeah.
but he also picked on the autistic guy at work
Same
pretty
idea.
severely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, obviously they tied it up at the end and they were good friends.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Jim
No,
Halpert
same.
maybe on the Zach Morris train.
He is a little bit, yeah. He's
little bit.
kind of the Zach Morris lineage, yeah.
And like
that's a good
I think too, because like Daryl's friends with Roy.
Yeah.
And obviously after what happens, Daryl's probably like, Jim sucks.
Yeah.
Right. So what does Jim do? Jim brings him along to this company as like in season 9. There's like this ultimate make good. And then they live together.
Yeah.
And Jim is like the most slovenly white
Right.
guy you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
Like Daryl has that great line, like Jim doesn't wash his pans, they've got to soak. And we had a roommate who did that as well.
Oh, that's true.
We also had a roommate who would passively aggressively let him know that that wasn't okay.
Yeah, that's
so it was comedy for you and I.
Yep.
But you know, that's ill behavior.
Yeah, no, I think so. And yeah, so but he gets the cool guy pass because again, handsome, right?
Oh,
funny,
super handsome.
right?
Very
Yeah,
funny.
cool guy.
Very
yeah,
funny.
And you know, he did kind of like he was basically like trying to, you know, Roy is a dick or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but Jim is trying to steal Pam from Roy the whole time, right?
But then Roy cleans up his act.
Yeah.
They get invited to his wedding.
Yep.
He learns piano for the girl.
Yeah.
And he sings that Billy Joel song.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, I would have married Roy.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what,
Billy
Pam?
Joel songs.
You blew it. So all these people should have been divorced. Maybe not. I mean, Tom's still going to marry Lori Grimes.
marrying a lot of
which is
people.
very, very surprising.
Yep.
So as we come to a close, we do want to do a segment that was very popular last week, Tom. We had a bunch of submissions.
Okay.
And we have a new submission for the Divorce with Friends, No Dick Bozo of the Week. Are you ready?
I am ready. I haven't heard this, so I'm responding fresh.
You haven't heard it.
Yep.
I heard it. I'm going to tell you a little bit of something. So we're going to play it, and then we'll do the play pause thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Bobby, Gossip Girl here, and do I have something fun to share with you?
Okay.
Is
So this is this is real. This is real. So this
this
is
AI? Is this an AI
No.
version of no? Okay.
No. So this is a listener, a friend of the pod.
Okay.
It's Katie the Muse.
Okay.
And Katie the Muse because she inspires people.
Oh, okay.
So in a weird way, she sort of takes credit for the podcast.
Wow.
Because we met months ago, and we were talking, and she's like, "Oh, I think you have a lovely voice."
Yeah, you do. You do. Have
Oh,
a good
thank you.
voice for.
Well, you have a great voice too.
No, my voice stinks. I've
Lot
said
of
this.
compliments
I can't
on that
listen to my
voice.
voice. This is a terrible voice.
I listen to your voice
I have more
many
vocal
times.
fry than I'd like. Too many ums. I tried to do better with the ums and the rights.
I think you
this
did
week.
awesome.
So if somebody wants to count and let me know, yeah.
We'll get a subreddit
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that.
yeah. That's
so Katie the Muse likes to take credit for the podcast because before she said that, we didn't have a podcast.
Right.
But now we do have a podcast. So she's like, so I'm sort of the inspiration for the podcast. And when your name is Katie the Muse, you can't really argue it, right?
Yeah.
Because
Good branding.
it's good branding.
You're gonna get
right?
credit for
anything that
things that
happens
happen.
post
Yeah.
meeting.
Sure.
Katie the Muse was responsible for the Muse. So Katie the Muse sent a submission. This is not AI.
Okay.
And let's just play it.
Okay.
Just kidding. You know who it is. And well, it's everyone's favorite time again, the NDB of the week. This week's No Dick Bozo comes to you from Boston. He has rather too trustfully used his last name.
First of all, big mistake right there.
Yeah.
Big mistake. Don't ever do that. I know a lot of people will just give initials. They could even be fake initials. You'll never know.
Yeah.
Don't do first and last name because if
your
you
dating
if you
profile, right?
if you
Yeah.
do the last name, it's probably right, and people are going to search you immediately.
Yeah.
Right. So let's see what they have on their profile.
Idiot. So, for privacy reasons, we will refer to him as Bert.
Smart.
Now,
Smart.
Bert is a personality best described as working out or the gym. It's repeatedly mentioned throughout his profile. So,
Well, it's healthy. Bert's a healthy guy.
Yeah. I saw pictures of Bert.
Okay.
He might work out a little bit, not enough to remind you a
That's
few
tough.
times.
Yeah, it's kind of like the guy who wears the sleeveless shirt.
Yeah.
And you're like you don't do enough try and buy for the sleeveless.
You're talking about me again?
right? Yeah. No, never.
No, I should. All right, I'm gonna get rid of my sleeveless shirts tonight. All right, if you apologize,
Okay,
I will get rid of
yeah.
my sleeveless shirts. But
I'm sorry if that hurt your feelings. Yeah.
it didn't. So thank you.
all right.
Thank you for just doing that.
Okay.
photos include several shirtless selfies.
Yeah, big hit.
Sitting on his luxury German car, staring off into the distance.
Oh, power move.
Yeah.
With sunglasses, I mean, that can really only be described as douchey. They're so fucking douchey. Has also intentionally shaved part of his eyebrow for what appears to be fashion reasons.
Ooh.
That okay. So that I mean,
That a thing people do?
apparently there was a time when one of our roommates in Waltham was convinced that Jacoby Ellsbury did that because he was like half Native American or something. I don't even know if any of that's
vaguely
true.
racist. Yeah.
Well, I think that's what he was trying to say. That was like his heritage. I have no idea if it was true. I think now people do it as sort of like a trendy thing.
Okay.
I don't.
To shave part of your eyebrow.
Yeah, like
well,
maybe like
people
a
shave
line.
them and then get them painted or something,
Well,
right?
like-
Or whatever.
A lot of non-sexist. A lot of women do that. They tattoo
Yeah,
them on.
yeah.
I don't know what I'm allowed to say anymore.
I mean, everybody can do whatever they want with their eyebrows. I don't really care. But
They
that
can.
Seems a little odd.
I think the German car doing that. It seems a little Aryan.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what
yeah.
I'm reading into this.
Well, yeah. We'll see. He just likes precision. He works
When you
out.
put all this together, it's not good on the whole. But to make matters worse, he also recorded a thirst trap video of himself in
thirst
what
trap is
appears
the
to
worst.
be a gym locker room. And well, let's just say the results weren't as impressive as he seems to think they are.
Oh, yeah. See, that's.
For
So she put this in the email sheet right here. He had man boobs,
Oh.
but like
okay.
he had like pecs, but like they were round. They
Which
were,
again is fine.
yeah.
But if you're going aggressively like the I'm super jacked, yeah.
You got unless he's being ironic.
Right. Ooh, maybe he is. Yeah, maybe that's his sense of humor.
maybe it's ironic. Bert is talking to Katie
yeah.
the Muse, and he's trying to get something
Oh,
going.
yeah, maybe.
me, it's a hard no.
Ooh, she's out.
Get a personality, be a little less materialistic, and like love yourself, but like do better. Oof. NDB of the week.
All right. Well, there you have it. We have Bert, the NDB of the week, and I was also told by Katie the Muse we can't veto any NDBs.
Oh, really?
I don't know how I feel about it, but because this one's hers, and she's Katie the Muse, I'm not gonna.
Well, I got my Bobby veto joke off last week, so that's fine with me. I don't really care about vetoing people, but that seems pretty reasonable. He seems kind of like an archetype NBD of the week. I like the disc golf guy better. Maybe we should start ranking.
Yeah,
them.
I'm gonna keep them right. So,
yeah.
we had John last week from Connecticut.
Yeah, that was disc golf guy.
We have
I
Bert
recall
from
it.
Boston.
Yeah, Bert's selfie guy. or
Yeah, these
whatever
are
they call it.
nominations, right? So you
Yeah.
get it for the week, and then every month, maybe, right?
Yeah,
Every
yeah,
couple
yeah,
months,
we
we're
get a
gonna
winner.
do.
Yeah.
We're gonna do.
Well, I guess this is how you're doing the rankings. So I like the disc golf guy better.
For
He's
being
maybe
close.
less of the no dick bozo.
Correct.
Yeah.
But
so this
Bert
guy's in
still
the
is-
lead.
But Bert's
Yeah.
still like no Dick Bozo of the week.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, but he's
So
more
let's
of
give a round of applause to Bert, the no Dick Bozo of the week from Divorce with Friends podcast. All right, Bert, way to go.
Good work.
So let's check the time. Wow, an hour again. We're killing it.
Yeah.
No apologies this week, dude.
No.
We're giving them all we got.
Yeah.
All we got. So in close. As we come to close, again, I want to thank Dean Corsi for the fire theme song that we have. Again, everybody absolutely loves it. You can find him at Instagram.com/Dean Corsi Music. Again, that's Instagram.com/Dean Corsi Music. We have social, which I did not properly hammer the last time.
Yes.
So you can find us on Instagram.com/Divorce with Friends. You should like everything that we send out. And you should go to YouTube or Apple or Spotify or Amazon, wherever you stream your podcast, and like the shit out of it. I want you to hammer that fucking button like you're mad at it, Tom.
5 stars. Unsubscribe, resubscribe. That's a thing.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, that's the PMT says that all the time.
Unsubscribe, resubscribe.
Yeah.
Do whatever.
Boost the numbers.
Whatever happens, right? We're gonna come back in about 2 weeks. But I want to thank everybody here for listening today. Thanks again to Katie the Muse. Thanks again for everybody, really, Tom. Anything you want to say thanks for? Well, have a wonderful rest of the week.